Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the WM32Football podcast. Today, we have been joined by somebody who has a wealth coaching knowledge and coaching experience, and is even helping another young coach coming through with their UEFA B project and their UEFA B course. So I've been joined today by Andrew Parker. Andrew, great to have you on with us today. Could you just explain how old you are and the role that you have currently for us?
Yeah, no problems at all. Really appreciate you having me on, Wesley. I'm 24 years old, currently work for a local sports company who go into schools and deliver sporting sessions, the PE and the sports club as well. Coaching at a local football team, FA Standard Charter football team, really enjoying the experience at the moment, and just overall really happy to be coaching at the moment and involved in my job as well.
Yeah, excellent. Brilliant that you are obviously out there trying to make a difference to kids within schools and whatnot. Obviously, you mentioned your Grassroots team there. Whereabouts in the country is that Grassroots team?
So we're located in Bedfordshire, just down the road from Luton, a town called Leighton Buzzard. It's Leighton United FC. I think it's one of the oldest youth clubs in the town, actually. My team's, we were the under 14s this season, so second year at 11-a-side. So a big change for them, but they've done quite well this year. Really happy with how they've developed.
Fantastic. And I imagine the adjustment to 11-a-side is still in that early stages as well?
Yeah, I think the under 13 season for us last year was their first experience of playing on close to a proper size pitch with 11 players. Obviously, that brings a bigger squad with more substitutes. So it's a lot, it's new positions as well. Once you add more players to the pitch, it brings in new positions. So it's new positions that not only have they got to learn themselves, but they've got to learn where their teammates are on the pitch as well. So it's a massive learning curve, not only for the players, but us as coaches as well.
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned there about, a brief journey within your coaching and where you are at now. Talk to me then about the coaching journey as a whole so far and what's led you up to the point that you're at now coaching at Leighton Town.
Well, I think I've always been interested in football itself. I mean, I've played, refereed, all from quite a young age. And I didn't actually start coaching until I was about 17, 18, just helping with local teams in and around my area. And then I just developed a passion for it and went to university to study football and sports development, and coaching was quite a big aspect of that. Which led me on to getting places and job advertisements within professional setups and doing voluntary work as well, in and around professional setups as well, all being Football League clubs and one Premier League club as well, which was a fantastic experience for me. And then coming back as well, just after I've developed that interest, it just leads you on to just wanting to do more and wanting to always be involved, no matter what the level was. And an opportunity arose within a local setup, which is still where I am now at Leighton United. I've been there for 2 seasons and I wouldn't change it for the world. I absolutely love it.
So, I mean, it's fantastic that you love what you do at the minute. And, you've mentioned there that you started developing a bit of a passion for it in your sort of late teenage years. Is being a coach something then that you've always wanted to do? Or did you think that your career path was going to go down a completely different route?
To be honest with you, my stepdad was quite a good and high level referee, and at a young age, at about 14, 15, he sort of pitched it to me as an idea, and I went with it, and it was a good way to earn money as well at that age. 20 odd pounds a game, which was really good, a lot of money for me at that age. And I really enjoyed refereeing. I remember, I think it was about a week after my 16th birthday, I started refereeing adults as a 16-year-old, being in charge of 22 grown men on a football pitch on a Sunday morning. Was quite a daunting prospect. And I think in my first game, I gave 2 red cards and I absolutely loved it. So I really thought for the next couple of years I was going to go down the refereeing route. And then I volunteered at MK Dons, working within the academy setup there, and then also the disability teams as well. And I just fell in love with coaching. It was sort of a 6 to 12 month period, and I just got hooked. And all of a sudden, I went from absolutely hating the idea of education to I want to go to university for 3 years and study coaching, and that's what I ended up doing.
Excellent. It seems that you've really had a bit of a almost one of those sort of light bulb moments, and it's just hit you whereby, coaching is something that you've found and that you've fallen in love with. And you mentioned before about working, obviously not only at MK Dons, but am I right in saying that you've worked at other pro clubs as well? So what have you found then the differences being sort of working within a pro club sort of environment to then working within a grassroots environment?
I mean, I have to thank the university really for a lot of opportunity. I don't think I would have got the opportunities I got if I didn't go to university. So MK Dons was brilliant. I'm an MK Dons fan, so to work at the training ground and be coaching whilst the first team were on the pitch next door is, it's absolutely amazing. I couldn't describe a better feeling. And then to go to university and be, in such a place where you can network. And I was given an opportunity at Port Vale, who are in the Football League. I think they're in League Two now, to go and coach within the academy there for 6 months. That was brilliant as well. And then in my final year, I was able to gain an employment in Stoke City, which at the time were still in the Premier League. So that was absolutely amazing. And I would say the main difference is kind of, I would say, the culture surrounding, even in professional setups, like Port Vale and Stoke are 5 miles apart, yet the philosophies and the culture between the two clubs are so different. It's really, really strange. I think in grassroots level, it's all about being inclusive, fair play, making sure everyone gets an equal playing time. But obviously, there is an aspect that everyone wants to win. And then at Stoke and Port Vale, it seems like it was all about individual development up to a certain age. I'd say around 13, 14, once you get into the 11-a-side. And then all of a sudden, the mindset changes to sort of teamwork and tactics and exploiting the opposition and stuff like that. So it's quite a good experience, and it was so different. I would imagine probably a lot more different than I initially thought.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you make that point between Stoke and Port Vale. As you mentioned, they're 5 miles apart, but yeah, actually, million miles apart in terms of cultures and philosophies. As you were going through, say, your time at university, and I guess even up to now, is there any coaches that you've looked up to along your coaching journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, obviously, if any MK Dons fans would listen to this, they'll know that Carl Robinson had a massive impact on the club and the fans that supported it. And it was just the way he set up the teams. He wanted the whole academy to be exactly like the first team. Get the ball. It doesn't matter if if you keep the ball, it's a positive bit of play. Really was from him. He liked bringing young, exciting, entertaining football. Keep the ball, lots of short, sharp passing. And I just loved that. I really bought into it as a fan, as a season ticket holder at the time, which I still am now. It was something I thought, oh my God, if I was a coach, this is exactly how I'd want my team to play. And then to go up to, I'd say at Stoke City when Mark Hughes was there, it was a completely different brand of football. It was get it into your striker and play off him. It was, get it into the final third, hit your number 9 and have 2 quick people either side. I think it had Crouch in the middle with Arnautovic and Shaqiri running either side, and that was his tactics. But Mark Hughes' man management was second to none. He was brilliant. He knew every single player's name, what they're up to. Even when he'd come and check on the under-18s, he'd come and ask me, oh, how's player A getting on? But he'd know everything about them. And I just thought, for a guy in such a big football club, a massive man about football, to take the time out and know every single academy player's name, what his role is, and take an interest to how he's getting on, even though we know the possibility of an academy player being offered a pro contract is very slim to none, if we're all honest. And for him to, even though he knew the odds, would still take time out on his weekend to come and ask how every single player is. I just thought that was amazing. So I would say from the football side of things, Carl Robinson, but from day-to-day player management and just being with the players, I'd say Mark Hughes.
Fantastic. I think like you mentioned there, almost two different contrasting styles in terms, especially playing wise, and you touched on them there, which I think a lot of people that know and have seen football would really sort of resonate with those. The next question is quite an interesting one, especially given where you've worked and your background coming from university. I think you would have probably looked into this quite a bit on your degree. But if you was to say your own coaching philosophy, well, what would it be?
So I've seen quite a few of your podcasts and heard a couple of the answers, and the answers were really interesting. We did a bit of work on this at university and just looked at different coaches and different managers and sort of see how they set up their teams and how they wanted to play. And I would say I took mine from Carl Robinson. My under-13s and under-14s team, I love keeping possession of the ball. Every time we keep possession, that's a positive. Our mindset, if the other team hasn't got the ball, they can't hurt us. And when we don't have the ball, we need to get it back as quickly as possible. So I would say yes, at Grassroots, sometimes it is a little bit difficult because you don't have the pool of players to pick from. Some of your players might not be suited on how you want them to play. But then again, that's why you are the coach. You have to coach them in a certain way to try and get them to your end goal. We all want our teams to have objectives, and not only for the team but individuals. So I would say passing play, keeping possession, and then when we don't have the ball, it's pressing as much as we can, winning the ball as close as we can to the opposition's goal, because then obviously that way it's the shortest route to scoring.
Yeah, 100%, and kind of leads me on to my next question then, because I think you've spoken a lot there about defined sort of playing style and a way of playing. Would you say that yours is 100% defined in terms of the fact that no matter what group you're with, this is how you want your teams to play? Or is it very much dependent on, the group of players that you're working with, and I guess even for you, the culture and the philosophy of the clubs that you're working at?
I think there is a certain element, especially at grassroots level. Obviously, I think I'm very lucky with the team I inherited at under 13 level, because they were very good technically on the ball. So for me to try and get them to transition to the way I wanted them to play was not easy, but it made life a little bit easier in terms of the sessions I wanted them to do and the knowledge I wanted them to take on board. It wasn't a complete change for them. It wasn't so unnerving for them to go, right, okay, Andrew wants us to play in this way. That's really scary because we've never done that before. But I love players to be able to play in several different positions. If I was looking at a player and he was excellent in one position but really good in three, I would always go for that player, because I think it's really important that you should be able to adapt to any position on the pitch. So I think in terms of player recruitment and going for them, I'd say it's not a necessity to be able to play in the way I want you to, because I think as a coach, you have to be confident in what you're doing and confident in your own ability. And I think if you're not, and you still have an objective there, I think there is an element of you're wasting your own time a little bit. So I think you have to stick to your guns. If there's a certain way you want your teams to play, sometimes you have got to stick at it. Obviously, there will be an occasion where you have to step back and think in training sometimes, right, this session isn't working. They're not getting it. They're not taking things on board. And you do change it and you do step away. But I think as a coach, you've got to be able to realise that and then adapt and try and help the players develop in other areas or in another way.
Yeah, no, I think that's quite an interesting point you make there with regards to trying to stick to your guns and whatnot. I think some coaches can be quite quick to try and change things just to suit the players' needs and things like that quite often. So I think it's quite interesting that you make that point of almost trying to stick to your guns. And obviously in that point there, you mentioned that you like players that can play in multiple positions. It might be two or maybe even three positions. Is that one of the qualities then that you would look for in a player? So for example, the player might be coming to your under 13s or 14s group to maybe look to with a view to sign in. So are those the types of qualities then that you would look for in a particular player that's coming into your setup?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important to, especially in a team game like football. Myself and my assistant, who works with me, we can't get enough of hard work, working for each other and teamwork. And I think especially in grassroots, there's going to be an occasion where your best centre back won't be available, your top striker might be ill, and you need to have players in the squad that can go, I'm going to put you there today because we're missing a key player and I need you to do a job for me there. And I think it's important that you have those types of players within your group. So then you don't have to change your setup too much. You can stick to what you've been learning in training, what you want them to achieve, what your objectives you want to get out of. And I think if you go for a player who, I don't want to play there, I'm a striker, I like scoring goals, I'm not playing anywhere else, I think immediately that puts you under pressure as a coach, and that puts the rest of the players under pressure as well, because then you've got to change your formation to suit one player, essentially. So I would say, yeah, it's definitely something I look for. Is it always possible? Probably not. It's at the end of the day, it's grassroots football, and you do essentially have to play with what you've got. Does that mean you can't try and implement your ideas? No, I don't think it does. So, but for me personally, that is the type of player I would look to go and sign.
Perfect answer. I like that a lot. And then obviously you mentioned there both you and your assistant love players that are sort of hard working. Would you say then that is a potential bias that you would have towards a certain type of player? So if you see that a player perhaps hasn't got the technical ability or the game awareness or understanding, but is a hard working player and will put a shift in for the team, is that a certain type of player that would stand out for you, perhaps from an opposition perspective?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of, maybe not coaches, I think a lot of coaches will view a game or view a football match differently from a fan's perspective. But I would just say technical ability and reading of the game, I think that's two attributes that are very coachable. You can get that into a player. A natural ability of hunger, desire and hard work, I think that's all down to the individual. Yes, you can encourage and yes, you can motivate. But at the end of the day, if a player does not want to work hard for you as a coach or his teammates, he won't, in my opinion. That might be a little bit controversial, but I just think if I can see a player who's trying his absolute hardest to chase down a lost cause, put a player under pressure, like I said earlier, you need to back yourself as a coach in regards to your coaching ability. Whether it works or it doesn't, you've got to keep going. You've got to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing and believe in your players that they're going to pick it up and they're going to work hard for you. And I think a lot of the time you get what you put in. If you're not going to prepare sessions and think, how can this affect my team? How can this work? What can we do we know how this team plays. What can we do to combat that? I think you're not going to get the end result that you want. There's times where me and my assistant, the lad I coach with, we've gone to training, finished at 8:30 at night. Bear in mind, we're both up at work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'll go to the pub and we'll be in there for hours. What went well tonight? What can we, right, we know we're playing this team on Sunday. We know exactly how they play. How can we set the team up to combat that? How can we use what we've learned in training to affect how we perform on match day? So I think, yeah, it's definitely something we look for. I think it's 100%. And I think, in my opinion, if you don't, I think you're kind of letting yourself down. I don't think you're giving the player 100% of commitment, to be honest.
Now, very, very interesting, again there, Andrew, in terms of the points and the observations that you've made. And you mentioned there about, perhaps a reflective process taking place with you and your assistant. Do you feel that the majority of coaches probably neglect that side of coaching. Obviously, I know the FA have got this plan, do, review coaching process that happens. But do you feel like the review part of it is pretty much neglected by coaches?
I wouldn't say neglected, because being a grassroots coach, I don't care what anyone says, you are doing it for the love of the game. You love football, or you love, if you're not there, those 15, 16 kids don't get an opportunity to A, play football, and B, socialise with kids their own age. Some children find it really, really difficult to socialise, and I think sport as a whole really, really helps with that point. So I wouldn't say it's neglect. I just think sometimes if you're just doing it because you're the one who volunteered, it's got to be difficult. No, I'm in a position where both myself and the other coach that I work with absolutely adore football. We've loved football from a young age. We've been involved in several aspects. Football's our life. It makes it a lot easier. Me staying in the pub with him until 10 o'clock at night, deciding what formation we're going to play. Did that session work well? What could we do to improve the development of our players? That's fun to me and him. That's fun. That's a fantastic evening. It's exciting. Can't wait till Sunday. Every Sunday morning, 10:30, it's like Christmas. It's brilliant. It's such an amazing feeling. But we're not the same as everyone else. There's a lot of dads out there who are volunteers, who give up their time to allow young boys and girls to come and play football, and they might not see it in the same way as us. So I wouldn't say it's neglect. I think it's an unfortunate aspect of grassroots football. Will that change in the future? I'm not really sure, because I think you're always going to have an aspect of people who won't take it as seriously. And like I said, we're really lucky. We inherited a really good team who play at a really, really good level, the top division in and around our area. So I wouldn't say it's neglect, but there's definitely an aspect of that there.
Perfect answer for that, Andrew. Thank you ever so much for that. Obviously, we mentioned before where you are currently in terms of your coaching qualifications is at UEFA B level. Are you looking to gain more coaching qualifications, or are you happy with the level you're at now? Are you looking potentially to venture into other types of qualifications like talent ID or whatnot? What are your thoughts on gaining more sort of coaching qualifications?
Well, I'm actually trying to work towards the UEFA B at the moment, which is what my assistant Joe is doing as well. And before this season, he didn't have an 11-a-side team to go to, which is what you need to do in order to qualify for the UEFA B. So it's nice that we can bring him on board and help him with his career pathway as well to get in his UEFA B, which is where I'm aiming at as well. I did do a brief stint in talent ID. I managed to get a level 1 qualification from Stoke, which was really, really handy. I had some experience going around tournaments in the summer, looking at new players, discussing with coaches and parents how they are. I would love to explore that side of things. I really did love the talent ID side and the analysis side, all the statistics, and where just the psychoanalysis as well. If you take two players, they have all the same physical attributes, but why can one player pick a pass better than the other? Why can one player intercept a ball quicker than the other? They've got all the same physical attributes. So yeah, I would say that would be something I'd love to explore. Whether it's a possibility, it's all leads up to finances and time at the end of the day, and having a full-time job, a grassroots coach as well. It is difficult, but it's definitely something I'd love to explore. I would love to gain more qualifications. We'll just have to see if the opportunities present themselves. Brilliant. If not, I'm happy to keep going as I am.
Nice. Interesting there as well when you mentioned the difference in terms of players that have the same physical attributes, yet one is slightly different than the other. And I guess almost from a financial standpoint within the recruitment department, it's why one player might cost £10 million, for example, and the other one might cost £2 million.
Exactly.
So no, really good sort of insight into that aspect of things as well. In your opinion, Andrew, what do you feel like and what could be done to help coaches develop even further?
I would say every single coach is different, just like every single player is different. Everyone learns in different ways. For me personally, standing at the side of a pitch and just watching a coach in a training session, it just gives you so much ideas. And I think confidence plays a big part of that. For me, I would say if I was to help another coach or maybe given ideas to help another coach, go and get involved. Get yourself involved as much as possible. Sometimes you won't want to, but if you can just take one thing away from a training session or a match, you've gained something. You've improved. I see, I come up against opposition coaches and opposition managers, and they've beat, they might have absolutely thrashed us, but there's something you can learn. That's brilliant what he did over there. That changed the game. Or what that warm up before the match that really got his players going. So it's steering ideas as well. Every coach should steal ideas from each other. It's networking. So I would say in terms of development, get yourself out there, watch as many coaches as you can, watch the warm-ups on TV in the Premier League, go down to your local football club. We've got Leighton Town on our doorstep. I've been and watched those several times on a Saturday this year. That's been absolutely fantastic. Just a little insight into what they do. I've pinched ideas from them. You see training sessions. We see Spurs and Real Madrid and Man United and Liverpool doing, and then you see my players doing it on a Wednesday night on the 3G locally. So it's brilliant. So yeah, I'd say watch as many coaches as you can, steal as many ideas as you can.
Brilliant. And you mentioned they're obviously trying to watch as many coaches as you can, maybe try and pinch some ideas. Is that one bit of advice then that you would give to young coaches that are looking to get into coaching? And is there anything else that you would advice wise that you would give to them as they're embarking on their journey?
Yeah, definitely. I think it really does help watching other ideas. It could be, and it doesn't matter whether they've got 40 years of experience or 40 minutes. There might be something that they do that works really well that you may not think of. And you can take that into your session. Me and my assistant have done it so many times. And, you can't get discouraged or disheartened. If you spend all week planning this amazing session, you think, oh, this is going to help us beat that team on Sunday. This is going to go brilliant. You get to training and all 18 players haven't got a clue what you're talking about. So it's speaking a foreign language. And the session goes terribly, but that's okay. And I would say my piece of advice to a coach: don't worry. Every session will not be perfect, but just make sure you think, why hasn't that worked? Why didn't they get it? Where could we improve on that? Where could we make it better? And I just think self-reflection is a massive part of that. And like you pointed out just then, Wesley, if you can go and watch other coaches, they might coach in a way that you think, right, next time I do that session, I'm going to do what he did. And it might work. It might not. But I just think trial and error, self-reflection, and watch other coaches.
Brilliant. Unfortunately, guys, we are out of time and out of questions. It just leaves me with one thing, and that is just to thank Andrew for coming on and giving up your time. Guys, don't forget, the podcast will be available on Spotify at WM32Football for that. So give us a follow on there. And this will also be on YouTube as well. So please give a like, a comment, and subscribe to our channel as well. Again, it is at WM32Football for that. Andrew, thank you ever so much for your time and giving us your experiences on your coaching journey so far.
Yeah, no worries at all, Wesley. Really appreciate you having me on.
All right, not a problem. Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, Wesley. Thank you.